Hi, thanks for listening to this Language PowerPoint podcast. Let's start with a couple of questions. What are your thoughts? What is language? Are there good languages and bad languages? Let's answer these questions. First, language is for communication. It is a critical tool in the development of identity, self-awareness, and intellectual and psychological growth. Linguists will say that there are no good languages or bad languages. As long as there are grammatical rules, it is considered a language. Society places different social values on different languages and dialect groups. So the status judgments are based not on linguistic grounds, but on social grounds. Language is an integral part of a person's culture. Think about all the ways it is used. It can incite anger, elicit love, inspire bravery, arouse fear. It provides a common bond for individuals with the same linguistic and the same common heritage. Language is developed to meet the needs of the culture. For example, Western society places value on time. Time lost, time saved, time wasted, be on time. But the Lakota Sioux have no words for late or waiting. New words are introduced as they are needed in a culture. For example, 20 years ago, we had never used the words flash drive or internet, but today they are part of our normal vocabulary. Almost all children have the ability to learn one or more languages. Children almost instinctively know the right word, the right responses, and the right gestures for situations. Native speakers unconsciously know and obey the rules and customs of their language community. Now let's think about dialects. Be honest. Does a dialect make a difference in how you perceive someone? Although linguists see all languages as equal, society again places different levels of social status on different languages. Think of a time when a stigma may have been placed on a person for speaking a certain language or dialect. Some dialects are social dialects, while others are regional dialects. Regional dialects, for example, Appalachian English, Southern Draws, and New York or Northeastern dialects, tend to differ primarily in the use of vowels. Some dialects enjoy greater social acceptance and prestige than others. Social dialects tend to differ primarily in the use of consonants. Black Vernacular English, or Ebonics, is a dialect used by many working-class African Americans. While Americans and those from other English-speaking countries have many different dialects, they can usually understand one another. One of the most controversial dialects is Black English or Ebonics. Teachers, both Caucasian and African American, many times have a bias against students using this dialect. But Ebonics has a rule system of its own, and most linguists consider this dialect to be a legitimate system of communication, not a substandard or deviant form of English. Like Ebonics, Hawaiian Pidgin English and Appalachian English are often attacked and stigmatized by educational policymakers. The attacks are most likely the response to the fact that the use of these dialects without the ability to speak standard English may preclude educational, social, and vocational acceptance. However, no single dialect is identified as standard English. Norms vary within communities, and there are two norms: the informal standard, which is considered proper in a community, and the formal standard, which is the accepted written language. But the determination of what is standard is usually made by people with the power and status to make the judgment. In school, we need to teach students to when and how to use a more accepted form of English without putting down their family's way of communicating. And that can be a delicate balance. The forum this week touches on this. Now let's think about accents. Does a person's accent influence how you perceive him? If a person learns English or another non-native language after the age of about 9, he generally will have an accent. Brain research has shown us that many of the pathways in the brain needed to hear and produce certain sounds have to be developed in early childhood, or they will not develop. It doesn't mean that he doesn't have a strong command of the English language. It's just that accent sounds different from standard English in how the words are pronounced. Just as if there are many dialects and accents in the U.S., there are many different kinds of languages. The rate of increase of non-English speakers is greater than the overall rate of population growth. There were 329 languages spoken in the U.S. in the year 2000. By 2026, there will be an estimated 15 million ELLs in the U.S. public schools. It's the obligation of each educator to ensure the right of each child to continue to learn grade level content while they are learning English. And remember the court case of Law versus Nichols? That's what started us really in educating our English language learners. And in that court case, parents from the San Francisco school districts brought the case and went all the way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said you have to teach children English. You can't just put them in the same classroom with the same books, the same materials as everybody else, but you have to do something to teach them English and grade level content, which is really important as we look at this graph. This graph shows the increase in the number of children in the U.S. who speak another language at home. And you can see that's growing, so we need to make sure we're educating all of our students. Here's another graph. This graph shows the increase in Kansas school population during a 10-year span. Although the numbers may be a little hard for you to read, you can get the gist of it. The green bar shows the overall percentage increase in English language learners in the state of Kansas. The pink bar shows the overall growth in students. So we can see it's vitally important that teachers understand and value cultural and linguistic differences.